Freddy is the ultimate nightmare.
Like most people, I watched way too much Freddy Krueger in the 1980s, including seeing nearly all the movies more than once, even though I was way too young for it. I also saw a few Jason films with similar results. Both studios definitely were making a lot of money off of people like me. And then there was a movie called Hellraiser. I wouldn't even watch commercials for that and a TV movie about Stephen King's It, which I made it through once and then, yeah, no thanks. Now, both of those characters, Pinhead and Pennywise, were much scarier than Freddy and Jason, but they scared me right the hell away from the ticket line. But if the point of the horror genre is to scare you, why did this happen? You might say that it's because Freddy and Jason were more entertaining, but you'd be wrong. Because as Freddy and Jason got campier, they generally got crappier. The scariness they did have worked. So, is there such a thing as a movie being too scary? Well, that's why we're here. Horror movies work off of threat, but not just any threat. They trigger our flight response, which makes the brain dope us up with adrenaline like a high, which we enjoy. This is why children like being chased, but that's actually a very specific trigger. If you swing at it with a sledgehammer, you'll end up hitting a lot of other things that don't do the job, because in this case, threat is right next to trauma and disgust. So the stuff that works, the horror movies that we want to see a lot, give us the most in terms of threat without hitting those other things more than necessary. You see, Freddy and Jason do kill people, and sometimes kill people in a gory fashion, but they're most effective in killing people early in the movie because it helps set up the real payoff. Because in the climax, where we get the most of what we came for, the blood and guts doesn't happen there, but the fight or flight hits its peak, which is them going after the character we like the most, who tends to be female because it makes her even more vulnerable. Now, in contrast, like it or not, let's look at Pinhead. Very well designed to scare the piss out of you, but when I look at him, I don't think run. I think I'm f***ed. You're not gonna get away from this guy. He's got the power of hell itself, and I'm just a dumb kid. A lot of it is outright gross, too. Likewise, Pennywise is going after very little kids. They can't defend themselves or get away. So you focus instead on how awful it is, instead of a chase or getting away. On the other hand, if we look at Freddy and Jason, we might notice that they have things that are optimized to hit this flight reaction. After all, Jason moves extremely slowly, and you can avoid Freddy if you stay awake. And the money shot, the famous images of them, are not them killing people, but them standing off, looking like they will. The exact moment where your flight response would kick in, and where your brain would thus trigger it and give you the biggest shot of adrenaline, which is the real payoff, and the thing that made me and other people watch over and over.
It's like Freddy's like addicting, and you know it gets better and better.
Now, the real idea here is the power of recognizing the goal of what we're doing and hitting it efficiently. Brute force often wastes energy on irrelevant or counterproductive results. This same principle works in other fields too, like bodybuilding.
The weight on the bar is secondary to how the exercise is being performed.
And boxing.
But it don't have to be hard. No one's as accurate. It feels like a hard punch.
And ultimately, it's the most useful approach if you want to slay an audience.